while, and I said, okay, well, I'll read it. She said, well, uh, here's the thing. I already told them you accepted it. And she spoke this way, honey, they'll be real mad if you don't do it. So I read it, and also I saw the rest of the cast, when I saw James Mason and Jim Coburn and Diane and everybody, I thought, well, and I wanted to do it anyway. And you get to go to the south of France, so not so bad.
Did that happen on a regular basis where Sue Mengers would basically take a job on your behalf and then tell you that you were essentially doing it?
She did it with Westworld. Michael Crichton has written his script, and I'm going to send it to you. We were in New York, my wife Paula and I said, well, I'd love to read it. It sounds interesting. Well, honey, you're already in it.
I also love the whole full circle of it all because Bette Midler, of course, played Sue Mengers on stage in I'll Eat You Last, I think it was called, which was so brilliant. And here she is singing this song. Gotta have friends. Okay, so what was your reaction then when you read? I mean, this is a very dense script with so many twists, so many extra murders that you weren't expecting. So what was your reaction when you read all the twists and then realized that you were, in fact, a double murderer?
Well, I met Stephen Sondheim real early. Before I was doing anything we had a mutual friend, their names are the Holleriths, and this was a young Stephen who invented these games. And at the people's apartment, we'd play this game, and it was called Hollywood or something like that. And then afterwards, I went to 79th Street Crosstown Bus and walked with a Stephen Sondheim, not knowing, of course, I suspected he was a genius because of this game. But of course, we all know what a brilliant genius he really was. Anyway, that was the first time I met him. And neither one of us had done very much at that point. And then when I read it, Tony and Stephen had these games in New York where they would invite people, and every person would get a car to drive them around, and it was a treasure hunt. And it was a treasure hunt all over the city. And there would be clues like, the lady with the torch will tell you what's next. And he said, lady, oh, it's a Statue of Liberty. So you had to get in the car, go to the ferry, go out there, and there was a clue out there. They had these amazing games.
That's 6 hours right there just to get there.
The games lasted for like 2 days or something. So they were into this. And the other thing that was, they always said, well, with all the Agatha Christie things, there's always a scene at the end where Poirot or whatever lines everybody up and says, I have all the clues now, I know what has happened. And then he would explain it and you'd say, okay, I guess that's right. So they said, we want to do one when you can play the game, when it really is all there. And it's even in the title. It's The Last of Sheila. I know Evie is here. It's The Last of Sheila, meaning Sheila dies. But if you play the game, at the beginning of the movie, Jim Coburn lines us all up. And then he says, no, you go here, you go there, and puts me under the A. So The Last of Sheila, like in a crossword, is the letter A. And that's the killer. So it's there from the very beginning, and you can play it. And that's their brilliance, really.
So were Tony Perkins and Stephen Sondheim with you all during the production of this film, or were they already on to other things?
No, they were there just at the beginning, maybe at the first read-through. and they were gone. Yeah, you can't keep everybody in the south of France.
What are your recollections of Tony Perkins at that time? The same year the movie came out, he married Barry Berenson,
Yeah.
but I also know it was a very tumultuous time for him personally. I mean, he was in therapy, he was trying to, I think he was working a lot out. What was your friendship like at that time, as you recall?
Well, our friendship was very, very close. Tony and Barry were among our best friends, and Tony's son Osgood, who's now become a terrific screenwriter and director. In fact, Barry was pregnant with Osgood, and we went somewhere together, and Paula was weeping and crying. I think we were at their place in Truro, I think, and she was crying and everything. And I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "Well, Barry is pregnant. I wish I was." And it turned out she was. So Osgood and my son Ross are, very close. Yeah.
There's a story that I read about, and I'd love for you to explain it to me, where apparently on the set, James Mason came to you and said that he wanted you to go have a drink with him, and that you went out for a drink, and about 20 or 30 minutes into this drink, you realized that he was actually doing something a little bit different.
Yeah. The greatest acting experience working with someone I ever had was working with him. He is the quintessential movie actor. It's so real in any scene with him that, you have your lines, and, sometimes I'll be in a scene, I think, when that guy stops talking, then I talk, whatever he's saying. But you can't do that, and you wouldn't do it with James because it's totally real. And one day he said to me, and we were on the set of The Boat, he said, you want to go? He said, it was tea. He wanted to have tea. He said, let's go up to the lounge and have tea. And I said, okay. So we're talking away and having a nice conversation. And after a little while, I'm thinking, this is tomorrow's scene. We're having a rehearsal. It just slipped in, and that was the way it was to work with him. Another terrific thing was that James's dressing room was next to mine, and Paula was with me at the time, and his wife Clarissa, they were in their dressing room, so we could hear them. And every morning, James read the Herald Tribune, the International Tribune, to Clarissa. So we would hear the news read by James Mason.
You're mentioning your wife, Paula Prentice. You two have been married how long?
We're married 60 years.
Telling me in the green room you've got 4 grandchildren. They are 3 in Colorado and 1 in Atlanta.
Yeah.
What, besides, I'm sure your grandchildren are probably the favorite part of your life. What are other favorite parts of your life right now?
Oh, well, being together after all this time. I mean, it's beyond a shorthand, you kind of read each other's mind. And I've learned, because Paula is part Sicilian, to not mess with her.
You learned a lot over 60 years. I'm so sad because we're on a very strict time schedule so we can turn this theater around. I want to sit here and talk to you for an hour. But Richard Benjamin, what a pleasure to have you here.